Thank you for watching Scary Bear Attacks. If you like this episode, please remember to hit the like button and leave a comment or two, then subscribe and click on the bell to receive notifications of whenever we release new videos. Also, please remember to share them to your social media.
Welcome back to Scary Bear Attacks. Today's episode takes us to a resort town nestled in the mountains, Aspen, Colorado. Aspen lies in the heart of Colorado's Rocky Mountains, surrounded by lush forests, rugged mountains, and alpine lakes. With elevations ranging from 7,900 to over 14,000 feet, the area is home to a variety of wildlife, including mule deer, elk, and a lonesome moose or two. The predators include bobcats, coyotes, mountain lions, and black bears. The surrounding forest hosts stands of aspen, spruce, and pine trees mixed with berry-producing shrubs and meadows, making it an ideal habitat for black bears. The local black bear population, which varies in color from blonde to cinnamon to black, is drawn to residential areas by unsecured food sources, such as garbage and pet food. In an area called Castle Creek Valley, the Chernoskys were staying with friends while considering relocating to Aspen. They'd seen the sights and taken in a few of the amenities, while Dave studied the business potential of the town. There seemed to be plenty of activities to do here, and since he enjoyed hiking, he knew he and his kids could meander immeasurable miles on the trails above town. Oh, and the skiing isn't too bad either. In the early morning hours of July 10th, 2022, 54-year-old Dave Chernosky from Ohio was vacationing with two of his 5 children at a friend's home in Aspen. His 12-year-old twins had accompanied their father as he considered relocating his law firm from Cleveland to Aspen. The caretaker of the property was the one who invited Dave and his family to stay in the main home of the property. A few different homes were spread out on the acreage, and bears had visited the property periodically over the recent years. The prior year, a bear had broken into the caretaker's quarters and the main home, where Dave and his kids were now staying. There had been no problems with bears in Dave's visits over the prior 5 years, but he was still on high alert for them, given the past incidents. Around 1:30 a.m., Chernosky was startled awake by the sound of the heavy front door shutting. Now, Dave was the kind of guy who always locked the door before he went to bed, so the sound made him uneasy. The door automatically closed behind anyone who entered it, and the fact that he could hear it close meant it was either opened by someone with a key or he had forgotten to lock it before heading to bed. Dave's first thought was that it may be a bear invading the home, but then his fears were assuaged by the more likely possibility of one of his kids retrieving an item from outside the home. He sat up in his bed and slowly crept toward the doorway of his bedroom and peered down the hallway. Stealthily making his way down the hallway, he glanced toward the stairway that led downstairs. His children were sleeping there, and he hoped to see one of them. Glancing back across the dining room, Dave could see a huge shadow in the dark of the kitchen. The door on the refrigerator was wide open and provided an ominous backlight for the bear's hulking outline. Concern for the safety of his children welled up in his mind, and he worked hard to gather his senses as the bear stared toward him from only a few feet away. Now, most people might lose their minds at this point and start screaming at the bear in an attempt to frighten it off. Dave did something more rational and strategic than most people would do. He quickly developed a plan to try to lure the bear out of the door of the home and away from his children. Dave slowly worked his way around the kitchen island to put an obstruction between himself and the bear. He talked quietly and gently to the bear, hoping to soothe it and help it calm down from his sudden appearance. Near the bear was the door to the garage, and Dave watched as the bear bit the handle and pulled the door open. Dave stared in amazement as the bear calmly walked into the garage, as if it were going to get into one of the cars and go home. The man couldn't believe how well his strategy to lure the bear outside the home had worked. He briskly walked over to the man door of the garage and leaned over to press the garage door opener. As soon as the opener rattled, as it lifted the garage door, the bear turned and dashed toward Dave and the open man door. As the bear dashed toward Dave, he tried to slam the door and lock it. By the time the door had almost closed, Dave was thrown back by the force of the bear running into the door to get back inside the home. Dave turned in panic and ran down the hallway with the bear in close pursuit. Once back to the kitchen, the man again put the island between himself and the bear, but the bear was no longer following him. An eerie silence filled the house as Dave strained to hear where the bear had gone. Thoughts of it going downstairs to his children raced through Dave's mind. He couldn't stand that possibility looming, so he crept back to the garage door near the downstairs entrance. Dave found himself face to face with the bear as he came around a corner in the hallway. In a motion so quickly that Dave had no idea what had happened, the massive bear swatted him one time upside his head. Later describing the swat from the bear's paw like being hit in the head with a brick, Dave spun around and ran back around the corner. He yelled, "No, no, no," over and over. Feeling vulnerable and helpless, Dave watched as the bear walked back over to the man door and opened it once again using its mouth. The door unceremoniously closed behind the bear as it left Dave in pain, bleeding, and still terrified. Realizing this was his chance, Dave ran to the man door and locked it behind the bear. Blood trickled down his face as the gashes above his left eye, along his jaw, and on his neck seeped blood. Pictures of Dave's injuries are too graphic to pass YouTube standards, so I've posted them on my Patreon link below this video for your review. He grabbed a towel and tried to slow the bleeding as he dialed 911. As Dave was whisked to the hospital to receive sutures to close deep gashes to his face, jaw, and ear, wildlife officials from Colorado Parks and Wildlife were on their way to the attack site. During their brief conversation with Dave, he had indicated that he'd watched the bear open at least 4 doors, so the officers knew they had a bear very familiar with human homes and the food they contained. They immediately began tracking the giant bear and put an end to any threat it presented. After a short pursuit, they were forced to shoot and kill the bear per state policy regarding any bear involved in an attack on a human. They pulled DNA samples from the bear's carcass and compared them to DNA collected from saliva at the home. The samples matched, and they were certain they'd killed the bear that had invaded the home and attacked Dave. In their summary of the attack, officers concluded that the bear was habituated to human food sources. It wasn't surprised by Dave, as it protected an animal carcass, nor was it defending cubs, as there were none seen. Speaking of cubs, our Cub Tier membership on Patreon, linked below, will give you ad-free early access to our episodes, and the $3 per month goes a long way in helping me continue to produce educational and entertaining content like this. Following the attack, Dave stated that his calm demeanor at the beginning didn't seem to drive the bear away as much as yelling. Chernosky's quick thinking and efforts to protect his children likely prevented a worse outcome, but his injuries serve as a reminder of the risks of bear encounters. Colorado is home to an estimated 20,000 black bears, with most living in the mountainous regions. The CPW reports that black bears are normally wary of people, but their behavior can change during hyperphagia, especially when food is readily available. Between 2013 and 2022, Colorado recorded several bear attacks, with the majority occurring in areas where humans had failed to secure food properly. The CPW warns that bears may damage property, vehicles, and homes in search of easy calories. After reviewing the facts surrounding this episode, I'm left with a few questions for you. Should stricter regulations be imposed on residents and tourists in bear-prone areas to prevent encounters? Is managing bear populations around cities a way to balance human expansion with wildlife conservation? Do you think Dave will file a lawsuit against the bear to recover expenses for his medical bills? Given it's dead, it wouldn't do any good. I will gladly read and reply to your thoughts, so post them in the comments section below, and let's talk about it.
Thank you for watching Scary Bear Attacks. If you've enjoyed this episode, please consider clicking on the like button and clicking on the bell icon. We'll help you know when we post our new episodes. Posting our video links to your social media profiles furthers awareness, and it's fun. We slashed our prices in our merch store, linked below, so check out the bargains there while you shop. As a member of our human community, remember to adventure bravely and be careful out there, especially in bear country.